Hi class, Steve Katie here, and I'm going to walk through the instructions for the STA post. This is your first post, and there's some very important aspects to this post that I think are key to your competitive advantage that I refer to, and this competitive advantage to getting that dream job. So you got a few things, and I'm going to go through them. So when you review the questions below, what you want to do is also click here to look at the instructions and to see the grading criteria. I think that's important to help you see what needs to be done and how you can be successful with this. So when you click on the here and you open that in a new tab, I like to right click and then open in a new link. You'll see some instructions that, let me kind of pull those in there. They're kind of, let me have to shorten them up here, but in here you'll see it talks about how you can have the length 1,500 to 200 words. You talk about, you know, how the questions, the using bullets, complete, professional, thoughtful, as well as the fourth rubric, fourth criteria around discussion, and then the grading rubric criteria around clearly correct to clearly incorrect, calculating the points and so forth. I think what's important is that I first go through and look at, are you complete? I just go through, did you answer all the questions and the sub-questions? Second, I look at, did you go through and not only answer all the questions, were you professional? Is the layout consistent? I'm not looking for sloppy bullets and sub-bullets and the formatting being wishy-washy. The way it's laid out here as the question is similar to what I'm looking for. But very consistent in the formatting, very easy to follow when you do your responses. When you go down to below, you can see down here an example in terms of a format to make sure you use this. You don't have to repeat the entire question, for example. You repeat just the first keywords for the question, question one, few keywords, and then provide your answer. You can see the bolds up here help with that. Now, let's go into the questions. The first one is the behavioral interview. And as I've mentioned, I want to make a case to you that this will give you a competitive advantage, both as an interviewee and as a manager who's interviewing. And the technique is called START, Situation, Task, Action, and Results. And you can click here for more information. You can click here to see more information on answering this particular opening question. And then what you want to do is format this question so that you are having a subheader called Situation with your answer, Task as a subheader with your answer, action, and results. In addition, I'm looking for you to bold some key words and terms from the readings in all of your answers. So based on what you've learned in the class thus far, where you can, use key terms in your responses to show that you're applying the terminology in written form as a part of how you explain things. And then as you come down, you're going to see that you got this next question. Here is the dream job and your ideal organization. I think what's important here is for you to think about, really, what's that dream job you'd love to have? Don't set your sights low. What's that dream job? And what's that ideal organization? Where would you love to work? And that's upon graduation, not 5 or 10 years down the road. And then what I'd like you to do is go to that link to the Glassdoor Awards, look at the Employee Choice Awards, and use 3 criteria that you can find. And they, in there, give you how they developed the award, how they selected. 3 criteria that make for a choice award winner. Take those 3 criteria that make for a great place to work and apply it to the dream job in your ideal organization. And that ideal organization, how does that ideal organization compare to those 3 criteria that you pick? Describe that. Then the third question is really awesome. And this is called a leader informational interview. And what I'd like you to do is right out of the gate, you got to start, schedule, and get the interview with someone who's doing that job you'd love to have, someone who's a leader in that dream, in that ideal organization, someone who's working in your profession as a leader with experience. Whoever you can get a hold of, get a leader who's in a management position at a minimum. Ideally, they'd be in that in that ideal organization that you'd love to work in. But if not, find a leader who's in a management position and someone that you can really pick their brain around how they got to doing what they do and what their views are as a leader. And you're going to practice with using this informational interview technique. And I think it's important to realize how powerful and how great of a tool this can be for you. If you do 15 of these interviews with people in that ideal organization or in the profession, doing the job or having had done the job that you dream to have, and you do 15 informational interviews of people in that area, and it could be even in the businesses in the region that you want to live. I have students who want to work in marketing and advertising in Tennessee, and they went and looked and found the top 10, or I think it was a top 20 list of advertising firms in Nashville, Tennessee, and then began the process of interviewing people in management and leadership positions in those companies as a part of their course requirement in this class, but also just leveraged it to make introductions and say, I'm a student, I have an assignment, I'd like to interview you. And let me tell you, it opens up opportunities. I've had students get internships and jobs in Cleveland to California to Florida to other parts of the world just by doing informational interviews. They are super impactful. So this right here is a beginning point for those of you that haven't done it before. And it's an opportunity for you to begin to really dig into that dream job and ideal organization. So what I want you to do is to go through and here it says, schedule the interview. Ask them if you can have 30 minutes to an hour of their time live. This is in-person, phone, or video conference. Tell them you've been assigned to interview a leader you admire using the informational interview approach. They'll be flattered and glad to help you. You'll be surprised. People get access to some of the most amazing leaders in organizations just by asking and saying, I admire you, I'm a student, will you spend some time helping me as I plan my future? They want to pass it on because people have helped them be successful. As long as you are prepared, you will, and you ask politely, and you let them know that you will appreciate what they share with you, they will likely be glad, more than glad, to share with you. Develop your interview questions. Read the links here, and make sure you develop an interview protocol, which is a written statement, a written procedure for you conducting the interview. Then conduct it, and then answer the questions below. 3.1, who did you interview? When and where did you interview them? Why did you choose this person? And remember, it must be a live interview, in person, on the phone, or video. Then of all the questions you asked, because you might get 5 to 10 questions asked, share your 3 best ones, the 3 that were most impactful to you. Share the question and the answer that they gave. Then share 3.3, share the content of your thank you note. So after you're done, send them the next day a thank you note. And maybe even some of the notes, or maybe something that you learned, or a cool article related to what you were talking about that they might find helpful. And so share the content of that email and and also when you sent it. Then what did you learn from the interview? Step back and say, this is what I've learned that's helpful to me. And then 3.5 says, what will you do differently? So just share with us, what will you do differently now? You had the interview. It should be helpful in a way, and it needs to impact you in a way that you'll do something different, that you'll use something to help you as you go for your dream job in your ideal organization. You can see here there are some links to what are informational interviews. You can Google the heck out of it. There's lots of great information out there. These are 3 good links along with this one up here that will help you. Then you go to question 4, your year in review. Look over the year, consider your performance in school and your career. These are the things you're proud you've accomplished over the last year, and this is how you accomplished them. And these are the things that's been frustrating for you. And then 5, what are your reactions to the class thus far? What questions do you have? And this is key. What's your answer to the question if you knew what that would be? If you're not sure, take a guess at what you think the answer might be. Then the next one is a group discussion request. You're going to be in a group and you're going to be discussing and interacting. You want this group discussion experience when you post your answers to these questions and then you interact with your group. You want it to be worthwhile, and you want to have a good interaction. And I invite you to be a leader in actually promoting great conversation. Here's where I would like you to discuss what that looks like, what a successful discussion with your discussion group looks like. Describe, here it says, a successful discussion you've had. So give an example of one that you've had that where you really enjoyed the discussion in a group. And what do you need from your group in order to ensure you get the most from the experience? The next is an exam question. As you review everything that's here, that's provided in the discussion board, the overview of the class, create one really good application question that relates to this material. And so you really are, it's STA material, the discussion board, how the class works, but create a good question on how the class operates and the materials from the behavioral interview to a question about informational interviews and so forth. Now, there's a due date. You submit this mini paper to your group by the due date. Then the very next day in the Canvas calendar and the syllabus in Canvas says begin discussion, and it'll say begin the STA discussion today. Now what you want to do is have great conversation with your group. First, review all the different posts and respond to 5 people. Give them feedback, reflect on what they wrote, discuss how it impacted you, maybe give them some helpful advice, encourage them, pose a question, something along those lines, and have 5 reflective posts to 5 people in your group. Then with 1, 2 people, 3 people, interact with them. Go back and forth and have a conversation where they've asked you a question, you ask them a question, you respond, they come back, and have a thoughtful, interactive set of comments with 1 to 3 people in your group. That means that you'll have 10 or more really good reflective posts, and that's what I'm looking for. Spread them out over the time period of the window that you have for having group discussion. Here's a best practice video that you can review that will give you some good information on completing a post. This is from a previous semester, so the questions are a bit different. However, it gives you an idea. Here's a format. And the last thing I want to tell you is I am really a stickler for making sure that you are unique and you're giving me your unique style and showing that to me and demonstrating it, because this is about stepping into your own personal competence and confidence, and that is stepping into it with your own style for how you do things. So your introduction is an invitation that is compelling, that is interesting, and invites me in to want to read your response, not just a boring, I have a discussion board post and here are my answers to the following questions. I'm not looking for that. Bring your unique creative style to an introductory paragraph that invites people in. The conclusion is equally as important, and it's different than the introduction. It is a step back. Based on your answers to all the questions, how are you different? What are your takeaways? What's the ribbon or the theme across all the questions? And how do they relate to each other? And how does the way they related and what you learned overall help you, make you different? What's your reaction and reflections on the whole experience of answering all the questions? What are your big takeaways from answering them? So it's a really thoughtful conclusion at a higher level of your takeaways from across the whole of the questions that you answered. Remember to post this in a complete, answer all the questions, professional, well-formatted, easy to follow, thoughtful, explain things. Use key terms and bold them where you can from your readings, and make sure that you have a really thoughtful set of responses, explaining things, and finally have great discussion with your group. That's it. Bye for now. I look forward to seeing some super posts from you all.